Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're actually just going to skip the usual agenda and jump straight into the incredible journey of a man who literally changed the trajectory of human history. We're talking about M.S. Swaminathan. He was an agricultural scientist whose work saved millions upon millions from starvation, and then, he dedicated the rest of his life to saving the earth itself. So let's dive right into this really profound hook. The future belongs to nations with grains and not guns. Now, this wasn't just some catchy phrase for Swaminathan. It was the driving philosophy of his entire 98-year life. He fundamentally believed that national security and human dignity, they begin with a full stomach. As we'll see, we're going to explore how this single scientist engineered a miraculous transformation for a starving nation, and then, recognizing the limits of that very miracle, pivoted to pioneer a global movement for ecological survival.
All right, Section 1, From Famine to Vocation.
Maikumbu Sambasivan Swaminathan was born in 1925, and at first, he was fully expected to follow his father into medicine. He actually even earned a degree in zoology in 1944. But right in the middle of all that, the horrific Bengal famine struck in 1943. It killed millions. For Swaminathan, witnessing mass starvation firsthand caused a dramatic moral pivot. He realized the absolute most urgent medical intervention a nation could have was food. So he abandoned medicine, went back to school, and completed a degree in agriculture by 1947 to fight hunger right at its root.
That decision was rooted in a really powerful realization. He deeply believed that hunger is a moral and political failure, not a natural fate. It isn't just bad weather or bad luck, right? It's a solvable human problem. And solving it became his absolute lifelong mission. He didn't just want to study plants. He literally wanted to use science as a shield for the vulnerable. Which brings us to Section 2, Architect of the Green Revolution. So after gaining top-tier scientific training at Cambridge and in the US, Swaminathan returned to an India that was facing terrifying food shortages. His solution? A massive, completely unprecedented gamble. 18,000 tons. Just think about the sheer scale of that for a second. In 1966, under his guidance, India imported 18,000 tons of Mexican dwarf wheat seed in collaboration with the American scientist Norman Borlaug. They knew these seeds responded incredibly well to fertilizer without collapsing, but testing it across an entire nation on the brink of famine, man, that required immense courage. And the result of that gamble absolutely changed the world. Pre-1960s India was living this desperate, ship-to-mouth existence, completely reliant on foreign grain imports just to keep its population alive. Yet, by 1971, just a few short years after that massive seed import, India triumphantly declared national agricultural self-sufficiency. Talk about a complete 180.
The scale of that revolution is almost hard to wrap your head around. Wheat production basically doubled, jumping from around 10 to 12 million tons in the mid-1960s to 20 million tons by 1970. It proved that the right genetics, paired with fertilizers and dedicated political backing, could completely shatter the limits of what people thought was biologically possible.
Let's move on to Section 3, the Evergreen Revolution.
Now, for most people, averting mass starvation would be enough to retire a hero. But Swaminathan didn't just rest on his laurels. Earlier than almost anyone else, he recognized the looming ecological cost of the intensive chemical farming he had just championed. He completely redefined the equation of success in agriculture. Instead of just looking at maximum output, success had to equal useful output, plus sustainability, plus equity, plus human welfare. I mean, if you destroy the soil to get higher yields, you're ultimately failing. So this really became the thematic hinge of his entire later life, which he famously termed the Evergreen Revolution. The goal was crystal clear: the enhancement of productivity in perpetuity, without associated ecological or social harm. Basically, he was demanding that we figure out how to feed a growing population without poisoning the water, exhausting the soil, or ignoring the climate that makes farming possible in the first place. Achieving that, of course, requires a rigorous methodology, from identifying the human problem all the way to scaling what works. But the absolute most crucial part here is Step 6, monitoring unintended consequences. This was the hallmark of his intellectual honesty. He was actually willing to look at his own greatest success, the Green Revolution, and ask, okay, what side effects did we create, and how do we fix them now?
Moving to Section 4, Champion of the Farmer.
Transitioning from laboratory science to socioeconomic realities, Swaminathan knew the best seed in the world is totally useless if the person planting it is trapped in crushing poverty. He famously stated, "Farmers are the only indispensable people on the face of the earth." That really underlines his fierce stance that was pro-poor, pro-women, and pro-nature. If farm economics go wrong, literally nothing else in agriculture has a chance to go right.
And this wasn't just empty talk, he actually turned it into policy. As chairman of the National Commission on Farmers, he laid out a massive blueprint for actual economic livelihoods. He advocated for ensuring a minimum support price, or MSP, at 50% above the weighted average cost of production just to ensure farmers could actually make a living. He pushed to empower women with land titles, shift the focus to nutrition-sensitive farming, and fiercely protect local agrobiodiversity. Regardless of how these complex policies are debated today, this was his comprehensive, on-the-ground vision for securing the human beings behind our food supply.
Finally, Section 5, Enduring Global Legacy.
Swaminathan's influence extended far beyond India, heavily characterized by his founding of the M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation. He was pushing these concepts into real-world village practice. You can actually see a beautiful evolution in his career here. In the 1960s, the primary focus was high yield and calories to avert mass famine. But look at the 2000s and beyond, the focus shifted to ecology and nutrition, resulting in global blueprints for sustainability and what he called biohappiness. He adapted his scientific goals as the needs of the planet evolved. And the world absolutely recognized this incredible journey. I mean, he was the recipient of the inaugural World Food Prize in 1987. Time magazine named him one of the 20 most influential Asians of the 20th century. The UN hailed him as the father of economic ecology. And in 2024, he was posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor. All of these just prove that combining hard science with deep humanity resonates across the entire globe.
But, beyond all the awards and the massive systemic changes, I want to bring this explainer back to the human element. Farming is a profession of hope. Even after 98 years of life, grappling with famine, poverty, environmental degradation, and just immense global challenges, Swaminathan remained enduringly optimistic. He truly believed in the resilience of nature and the ingenuity of people.
Which leaves us with a critical thought to close on. We've seen how one man used science to pull a nation back from the brink of starvation, and then mapped out a sustainable path forward for all of us. Today, as climate change, water scarcity, and soil degradation actively threaten our modern global food supply, the question is, are we actually ready to fully embrace Swaminathan's evergreen revolution? It's honestly a question of our own survival, and I hope this explainer leaves you eager to explore his frameworks further. Thanks so much for joining me on this incredible journey.